the Great American Insurance ATP Championships at the ATP Stadium in Mason, just outside Cincinnati, Ohio. And what a tremendous match we have for you. Pete Sampras, the world #1, taking on Yevgeny Kafelnikov, ranked #6, and of course a former French Open champion. Pete, who's won 4 titles this year, including San Jose. Don't think he was a finalist there. He actually won the title. It was his opponent, Greg Ruzetsky, who was forced to retire. And Sampras with a 6-2 winning record over Yevgeny Kafelnikov, although this is their first meeting this year. Well, I'm David Mercer. Alongside me in these sweltering conditions, 102 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yes, fortunately not too bad at all for us. Rather nicely air-conditioned, but quite an ordeal for the players out there, and I think therefore pretty important to get off to a good start, as it will seem that much further to come back for whoever loses the first set. Sampras in his match against Rafter seemed to be just going rather subdued through it. Didn't really hit any great form. Even the serve was rather limited. Kafelnikov against Rios, finishing a lot faster and a lot better.
Yevgeny Kafelnikov's route through to this quarterfinal with Pete Sampras, getting revenge for his defeat by Chris Woodruff last week in Montreal, and then coming from behind to beat Marcelo Rios, who sadly tailed away rather badly at the end of the match. Now, the winner of this match will play Albert Costa in the semi-finals. Costa, of course, who saved match points against Jim Courier back in the first round. He's come from a set down to fellow Spaniard Sergio Beguera, who sadly was forced to retire at 5-2 in the third set to Costa with what looked like heat exhaustion and some cramp in the arms as well. Paulo Pereira from Sao Paulo, Brazil, in the chair.
Kafelnikov to serve.
Confirmation of the head-to-head. Kafelnikov to serve.
Long.
So it seems that Sampras may be in the same subdued mood as yesterday.
Game Kafelnikov. First game.
And a nice easy love service game for Yevgeny Kafelnikov. And how much will the heat sort of factor into their tactics out there, Fru? Will they sort of say, well, if he gets to 30 love on my opponent's serve, I won't bust a gut?
Yes, of course, depending on the particular game, but I would think each player would like to win their serves rather easily, or win their games rather easily, so they may be rather more aggressive shot making, which I think would suit Sampras really, because as you say, he tended to look a little subdued in his match against Rafter. I didn't get quite that impression here in the first game, even though he didn't want a point. It seemed to me that there was a bit more keenness about it into the heart of the tournament, and up against a fellow major winner like Kafelnikov, obviously a little bit more inspired. But I think if it induces Sampras to go for his shots, then I think it's better for him really than going out there and sort of going through the paces and looking for the odd point here and there to break through on.
Kafelnikov's 2 wins, incidentally, have come on clay courts. As we look at the prize money here, so whoever loses this match will have to make do with a mere $49,000. The champion will take away $337,000. Kafelnikov's 2 wins have come on clay. On hard, it's 2-0 to Sampras, with the first match on hard, the first match between these two, going to 9-7 in the 5th.
15 all.
A match all of us lucky enough to see it will remember for a long, long time. It was in the second round of the 1994 Australian Open, and it really sort of marked down Kafelnikov as a young man to watch.
Third to all.
Sampras had just the one love game against Patrick Rafter. Careful selection, try and find the quickest looking ball. Well, it's a bad shot that by Kafelnikov really, because totally unforced. You can see how disgruntled he feels about it. Really had the moment there to put real pressure on the Sampras backhand.
Little late the call. Well, Kafelnikov rather started like this yesterday, middling everything against Marcelo Rios, and then suddenly went off the boil and lost his serve in the 5th game of the match. It should really have cost him the first set. Sampras may not want to kick in too many first serves.
No, I couldn't quite understand that, because it seemed neither a kicker nor a slice. Let's have another look at it here. It's going away from Kafelnikov, but it's not starting away from him. So the first break point goes a-begging. The other quarterfinals, incidentally, Thomas Muster against Jan Simmerink. And the winner of that will play Michael Chang or Gustavo Curtin, who are meeting for the second time in as many weeks. Curtin having absolutely thrashed Chang in Montreal, 3-1. Yes, I shouldn't think he's looking forward to that match. Perhaps he is.
Game simple. 1 game off.
He can only do better, I suppose, playing against Curtin.
I'm sure Michael would see it as a chance to get revenge.
Yes, certainly the way he should be looking at it. Now, Sampras saved 3 break points against Patrick Rafter. Wasn't broken in the first set, broken just once in the second set.
No, just wide.
15 all.
Kafelnikov's game has been a strange mixture over the last 2 weeks. There are times when he looks as if he's really hit great form, and then for no rhyme or reason it just leaves him, it deserts him. And I think we've seen that already here. Some great forehands and then a few poor ones.
15. 30 all.
And of course, footwork are always very important. I've always rated Kafelnikov as a man with some of the best feet in the game, but again, that's been a little sloppy, and it certainly was on that forehand. And with the heat as bad as it is, you're inclined to be perhaps just a little lazy.
Well, whereas Sampras saved 3 break points against Rafter, he converted on every break point he held.
Game simple.
And it's happened again.
He leads 2-1.
So Sampras it is who gets the immediate break of serve and moves into a 2-1 lead. We'll take a break and be back with more action from the quarterfinals in Cincinnati.
Back to the ATP Tour Mercedes Super 9 from Cincinnati.
Pete Sampras with an early break of serve then, 2-1 in the opening set of this quarterfinal in scorching Cincinnati, over 100 degrees on the court, and given that it's 20 to 2 in the afternoon, likely to go on rising for a little while.
Love 15.
Well, a mixture of pretty good tennis here. Certainly not an unforced error, that. And I like the way Sampras played the one slice backhand almost from behind him. The reason I mentioned the slice backhand is, of course, it's very important really for a player who likes to use it. Sampras does for it to be working well. With Sampras, it doesn't always work well. And he'll be using the block on the volley. He'll be using the blocked return of the Kafelnikov serve.
Kafelnikov is a great fan of ice hockey, but a few more like that and he might find himself playing baseball for the Cincinnati Reds. Well held, madam. No, you can't keep the ball. This is not baseball.
14-15.
Fielding the home run. First ace of the match.
Game Sampras. He leads 3-1.
Well, he's looking all round really more with it than he did against Rafter. Just broke Rafter twice. That's what it took in the second set, having lost his own serve once. It really conceded a lot of points in his serve, particularly in the first set at Sampras.
15 love.
Kafelnikov 11th in the prize money list this year at 775,000. Sampras number 1 at just over 1.5 million.
First. Third love.
Well, much better footwork there from Kafelnikov.
Lovely game from Yevgeny. A love service game.
Sampras leads 3-2.
To reduce the Sampras lead, but crucially, of course, Sampras with the break of serve. Could see the stands full. It was Friday afternoon. Maybe people have decided to take a long weekend. It's not a holiday weekend, is it? I mean, the next holiday is Labor Day, of course, and the middle weekend of the US Open.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Find an excuse, I'm sure, to break away from the office. Kafelnikov won't or shouldn't really be too concerned, because both against Rios and against Woodruff he trailed in the first set. Down 3-5 against Rios and 1-3 love 40 against Chris Woodruff, and came from behind to win, but that much more difficult to break the Sampras serve than either of the two aforementioned. Very important, of course, in this extreme heat to take a lot of liquid. See people in the stands doing that as the camera flashes by the players, and that much more important for the players to keep up their liquid supply.
Kafelnikov looking for his first Mercedes Super 9 title. He's equalled his best result here by reaching the quarterfinal. He was quarterfinalist last year. Sampras has won 7 Super 9 titles, and he was the champion here in 1992. It's been an era of American dominance, because 93 and 94 was Chang, and 95 and 96 Agassi.
15 love.
Well, a terrific backhand volley from Sampras. That was the point-saving shot. And Kafelnikov not quite getting hold. Not a bad idea to lob when the player has just picked one off his shoelaces.
30 love.
As you can imagine, as you pick off your shoelace, you're down and therefore a bit more vulnerable to a next shot lob.
Second ace.
As if he's glued to the spot, Kafelnikov. Needs a telescopic arm and racket.
Maybe the court's so hot the soles of his shoes are getting a little tacky.
Yeah, that possibility, that's for sure.
Certainly has happened at the Australian Open, where people have been finding their shoes almost sticking to the surface.
Game Sampras.
So Sampras answers Kafelnikov's love service game with one of his own.
Sampras leads 4-2.
And after some 19 minutes of play, the world number one leads 4-2. He's 69 consecutive weeks now at number one in the world, and 185 weeks in all.
More.
Well, that's been par for the course almost. Makes a really good forehand from a more difficult position, and then really a very easy position, and makes a mess of it. Well, you see what I mean about the Sampras backhand slice, how important it is for him.
15.
Even the first shot he played, he wasn't sure that he'd hit it well enough, but once it had gone in, he felt that he was confident enough to play that. That's a real beauty.
$15-40.
2 points for the double break. Thank you very much. That will do. Kafelnikov doesn't think so, but I think that had a nice little bit of hook on it, and that it caught the line. So Sampras rampant.
But he wasn't sure, you know, once he was
5-2. Sampras leads now with 2 breaks, and that almost certainly means he's got the first set in his pocket.
Rado Swiss watches, and Relco Resources.
You thought it was over. You thought wrong.
I need you to send rescue immediately.
A Steven Spielberg film, The Lost World.
Back to the ATP Tour Mercedes Super 9 from Cincinnati.
Time.
Oh, look at that sky. Just a few wispy clouds in the distance. So no respite from the players from the sun, and no respite for Kafelnikov from the onslaught he's now faced from Sampras. He's won 5 of the last 6 games and comes out to serve for the opening set. 5-2 with new balls.
2 love 15.
Well, huge difference, of course. There's always likely to be between the points he wins on first and second serves. So important for Kafelnikov to take advantage of these second serves. Sampras wins over 80 on his first and just over 50 on his second.
15 all.
Well, we saw this against Rafter yesterday. Sampras mixing it up behind the second serve, sometimes staying back, sometimes coming in. And that's good tactics because it doesn't allow his opponent to get into a rhythm on the service return.
30-15.
So obviously you hit a very different sort of service return if your opponent is coming to the net. It's got to be short, it's got to be low. Just 24.5 minutes they've been playing, and here's Sampras with 2 set points.
Was really relying on using what pace Kafelnikov had on it. Didn't look to make a lot of his own, and perhaps needed to.
With the third ace, we'll wrap up the set. 25 minutes, 6-2.
Well, absolutely essential here that Kafelnikov should start well. He's got to hold this opening serve to send the right messages to Sampras. Well, Sampras taking a bit of a siesta. Love 30 down.
Game, Kafelnikov. First game, second set.
Well, hopefully that will be the right message, but certainly you saw there Sampras at 30 love, deciding, well, okay, it's hot, I'm not going to try 100% on the next couple of points. If they come my way, great. If they don't, so be it.
Yes, I think by and large that's right. I think had he secured one of the first 2 points, either love 15 or 15 all, would have been that much more inspirational for him. He would have put in a greater effort to try and break the opening serve. So that might well have destroyed Kafelnikov. Kafelnikov, in the 2 matches in which he's beaten Sampras, has always won the first set. So he's never come from a set down to beat the world's number 1. But he's got to put a lot more ground strokes together. Started pretty well. He had that break point in the opening Sampras serve, and then the forehand just left him. Hasn't come back really.
The first set statistics, so not a lot to choose between them in terms of serving percentages, but far more winners from Sampras, far few losers from the American, and took his 2 chances. Kafelnikov didn't take his.
Yes, if it had been 5 unforced errors by Sampras rather than 6, it would be rather a nice balance, seesawing balance, and real explanation as to why Kafelnikov lost that first set. Too many errors.
Terrific stadium this, 10,600, and they've got another 5,000 seats on the second court, the grandstand court. This is the stadium, and that's ace number 4.
Well, lovely bit of acceleration here into this shot of Kafelnikov. You see where he is. He's on just this side of the baseline, just about on the baseline, giving Sampras less time.
30-15.
Very different serving Sampras, though, to the Sampras we saw yesterday against Rafter. Really getting stuck into these serves.
No, 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 that was not an ace. That was definitely an outside snick. Mind you, in fairness for those people in the computer area, they probably wouldn't have heard it. That was the first double fault of the match.
Oh, good bit of anticipation there by Kafelnikov. First serve and making Sampras play the ball on the half volley.
And again he picked the serve. And it's break point. Well, that's a classy shot under a lot of pressure, because he had to make that a winner, otherwise he was dead and buried.
Yes, what a gem of a point this was, because Kafelnikov playing exactly the right shot, I fancy, in the circumstances, but once again just perhaps dropping it a little short. On the other hand, Sampras knew that Kafelnikov would cover the cross court, so it had to be a very finely cut one. That's good play, just keeping Kafelnikov rushed. Didn't give him time to set himself for the two-hander.
Game Sampras. 1-all.
So again, Sampras comes through an opening service game where he faces a break point, just as in the first set. He'd love to repeat what happened in the first set in the third game, namely that he broke.
Long.
Kafelnikov in Canada served a lot of double faults, but then he was in very long service games where it was a mixture of ace and double. And against Rios he had just the one double fault, but there again the games were not particularly long, and here he hasn't had a game which has gone to juice yet. It's when it gets a little tighter for him that he begins to lose his serve.
Yeah, then what's all this about? Oh, just a change of racket. I just wondered for a moment if Sampras had one of his nosebleeds. He has been known to get those on the court. One all, second set, 30-15. Yes, there's not many people who can take on Sampras on forehands cross court and win. As you were saying, Prue.
Yes, you could sense the pressure mounting. That previous point had been such an important one.
Well, it has indeed happened again. Sampras breaks in the third game. Kafelnikov hits another home run, which is brilliantly fielded in the bleachers, as they call them here. And Sampras, impervious to all that, he just marches on towards the semi-finals. A set and a break to the good now.
Welcome to sunny California. Man, if it wasn't raining, I'll be busting y'all up right now. Little crossover right to left. You know, I hit you with the first step. I'll blow right by you.
Sometimes we just try to make you look good.
Stop like that. Oh, I think the sun coming out too.
Back to the ATP Tour Mercedes Super 9 from Cincinnati.
Yes, that sums it up. 6-2, 5-2. Sampras serving for a place in the semi-finals and a match with Albert Costa. And although Sampras would start as a firm favourite against the Spaniard, he'd remember that Costa stretched him to 5 sets at the Australian Open at the start of the year.
15 all.
He'll also remember that Costa beat Jim Courier from match points down in the first round, and that last week the champion came from match point down. Chris Woodruff against Jan Simmerink in the second round went on to win the tournament.
All.
Yes, I was going to say, was that really intended? And Sampras' gesture says, no, it wasn't.
Yes, it was such a good two-hander of Kafelnikov's. It surprised Sampras, and it was almost a stunned backhand.
Net. Second serve.
Two match points.
Game 7 at Sampras.
52 minutes it takes Pete Sampras to wrap up Yevgeny Kafelnikov. 6-2, 6-2, and the world number one may have coasted a little bit through his first round against Patrick Rafter. No coasting today.
Yes, he seemed a lot more urgent, but you feel perhaps the match was won and lost in the second game when Kafelnikov squandered the break point. He'd gone 2-love up, having served an opening love game. Who knows what might have happened. In this heat, though, it was very important to get off to a good start. And Sampras may have faltered just when he served at the opening game, but after that, it was a distinct difference in serving power, wasn't there, between Sampras and Kafelnikov?
Certainly was. Pete's clearly going to do a little interview there with Linda Pence as we look at the statistics. 25 winners for Sampras. That's very, very impressive. And again, he converts on every break point he has. So Sampras safely through, and I think we're going to have some time to bring you some of Muster against Simmerink. Stay with us on Eurosport.